Hello, my friends. Welcome back. My name is Justice Knight today, filling in for Lisa Haven. Can't thank you enough for being here today. They're here. We're going to start with that. China just provided proof of their existence, and they're here in the United States. Unbelievable claim, but we're going to go through the details and everything that's occurred leading up to what just happened. A storyline you can't afford to miss. A storyline no one ever hoped to see. Now, before I get there, Lisa asked me to give a shout out to her sponsor. So I need you to go to VirtualShield.com/LisaHaven1. And why? Because VirtualShield has a brand new product out there called VirtualShield One. As you see on the screen, there is a victim of identity fraud every 14 seconds, and their solution, here's what it does for you. It's going to hide your IP address, it's going to guard your identity, and it's going to fight back against censorship, something we should all care about. On top, of course, of complete identity protection. They'll be working in the background to look after you and complete, again, privacy with their state-of-the-art VPN. But as I always say, but wait, there's more. You see the special deal up on top, one-year plan, $9.99. That's an offer that nobody could refuse. So what is that more? You see it there. Global network access, unblocked streaming sites, military-grade encryption, unlimited devices, one-click protection, automatic Wi-Fi security. Man, I wish I was a speed talker right now. $1 million insurance, 24/7 support, malware blocking, ad blocking, premium streaming, and priority phone support. I still can't believe this statistic. 24% of Americans use the word password as password. 8.64 million. That's the total cost of data breaches in America in 2020. 420,175 passwords are stolen every day. And how do they stack up against the competition? Well, there is no competition. You see Virtual Shield up on the top, green check mark across the board, but nobody else anywhere close. And by going to virtualshield.com/LisaHaven1, you're going to get $9.99 a month for a year, down from their regular rate of $29.99. That is a once-in-a-lifetime offer. Offered to you exclusively through Lisa Haven. Again, virtualshield.com/LisaHaven1. So let's jump right into the story. If one were to claim the U.S. is different from and better than communist China, how would we know it? It's a big question, and I can't wait to see your comments on this story as we move forward through it. Let's compare the facts on taking down political opposition. Democrats claiming now that they are defending democracy, but they only have one way they want to defend democracy, their way. And they're deploying what many are saying are the tactics of the authoritarian China regime, as Xi Jinping has now seized total control. The mainstream media is beckoning the same soundbite. The only way to save democracy, this from Max Boot, is to vote for Democrats in the fall. The overriding issue is the preservation of our democracy. The abolition of any political dissent. Only one party rule. Only one answer. Only one agenda. The article states, in the name of defending democracy, American Democrats weaponized our government apparatus in an attempt to eliminate a former president. As it turns out, their tactics to hold power are disturbingly reminiscent of those employed by the authoritarian communists running China, and we just saw evidence of this the other day. There you saw the ex-president of China, Hu Jintao, being removed. Chinese state-run media reporting it was due to health issues. But that man didn't show any loss of his faculties as he tried to push back, gesturing even to Xi Jinping on his way out the door. But the story continues because it wasn't the only person now removed as Xi Jinping has taken over full authority. But the BBC asks, was that an emergency or was it optics? People in power wanted to symbolically remove leaders who represent the old era. Boy, isn't that reminiscent of something now happening here in the United States, because it's here already. The BBC said Hu Jintao represented a very different model of China than Xi Jinping, as Trump represents a very different model of government than does Biden. Xi Jinping had cracked down on many leaders, including Wang Yang, China's liberal Wang Yang, seen as possible premier as reshuffle looms, but that didn't happen, did it? No, removed from his position also. Which brings us full circle back to Biden and Trump. Or as they declare, Donald Trump is a threat to national security and integrity of our election. Of course, another constitutional law professor. But this started long ago with Spygate, as we've covered, a primer on the Russia collusion's hoax's years-long plot to take down Trump. We know now the funding of the Steele dossier. We see the settlement here between Hillary Clinton and the Democrats settling that they were involved in the Steele dossier for $113,000. The cost of freedom. Pretty cheap, ain't it? But that's not all.
They went to Christopher Steele and they said, can you corroborate this dossier? And he said, no. Here's $1 million. Can you do it now? No. He wrote it and they still took it to court, used it to get that FISA warrant. That's significant.
Significant would be an understatement, but the story doesn't stop there. These new tactics being used by the apparatus to what some would declare remove an entire political opposition. Ex-FBI lawyer avoids prison after admitting he doctored email an investigation of Trump's 2016 campaign. Prosecutors had asked Kevin Klein-Smith, 38, spent several months in prison for his crime. Klein-Smith pleaded guilty last summer to altering an email that one of his colleagues used in preparing an application to surreptitiously monitor former Trump campaign aide and advisor, Carter Page. But the mainstream media has continued this drumbeat on, even though the evidence and facts have now stacked against the story completely. But you see, this is no different than what's happening in China, where Xi Jinping, or China's government, controls the news entirely, all the storylines.
There are, however, certain points I want you to know. First, I personally approved the decision to seek a search warrant in this matter.
That's about all I could take of Merrick Garland, but he personally approved the search warrant at Mar-a-Lago. But there's so much to this story also. Remembering at first, Biden had nothing to do with it, but then in this letter, when it comes out from the National Archives, we find out something completely different. It was in this section where it stated, FBI and other intelligence community begins their reviews. Accordingly, NARA will provide the FBI access to the records in question as requested by the incumbent president, that being Biden, beginning as early as Thursday, May 12, 2022. But why would the DOJ have sought a grand jury subpoena for any and all documents in Trump's possession bearing classification markings before reviewing the materials provided by NARA? And given that the DOJ obtained a subpoena the day after NARA's told Trump's lawyer the incumbent president had requested the archive provide the documents to the FBI, one must ask, did Biden direct the DOJ to obtain the grand jury subpoena? A question that needs to be asked, but we'll never get an answer for. And then we come full circle to the January 6th event, and the commission empowered to investigate it. And Nancy Pelosi, which if you don't know the full story of Nancy Pelosi and January 6th, we're going to cover that at restrictedrepublic.com later today. A story you can't afford to miss. A story involved intrinsically with the events that occurred on J6. But we've seen what happened to those involved. Solitary confinement for January 6 riot participants draw criticism from Democratic senators and ACLU, a storyline pushed well in the background of any information. Trump supporters lose jobs and businesses after participation in the Capitol events. Bank of America scrutinized over sharing customer data with the FBI related to January 6th unrest. And how many of those rioters are still in jail? Do you know the number? Do you know the names? But the commission itself is entirely something new to this great Republic of the United States of America. The committee is exclusively made up of anti-Republican members appointed by the leader of the Democratic Party. In our entire 233-year history operating under the U.S. Constitution, a monopartisan makeup committee like this has never happened before. And it begs a question, where did they get this blueprint from? What are they watching and what are they reacting to? Many articles coming out that even the procedures they're following aren't necessarily legal. January 6th Commission fabricated whereabouts of Willard Hotel war room attendee in the subpoena. Or January 6th Committee admits it doctored text messages between Meadows and Jordan. But this is okay? This is normalcy? This mirrors an authoritarian regime way too closely. And Pelosi won't turn over J6 videos and emails claiming they're sovereign material. But yet they'll go into Mar-a-Lago with no hesitation for something that Trump declares is his sole property. And we find out later, much of it was. But the rhetoric has not stopped ratcheting up.
I want to be very clear up front. Not every Republican is a MAGA Republican. Not every Republican embraces that extreme ideology. I know because I've been able to work with mainstream Republicans my whole career. But the extreme MAGA Republicans in Congress have chosen to go backwards, full of anger, violence, hate, and division. But together, we can and we must choose a different path.
You heard Biden there. And what happens to political opposition? Steve Bannon sentenced to 4 months in prison for contempt of Congress. Roger Stone sentenced to 3 years, 4 months in prison. Navarro's trial coming up next. It's happened before. Operation Choke Point, run by the Obama Justice Department, who had to apologize, the IRS having to apologize for the aggressive scrutiny of conservative groups. Operation Choke Point reveals the true injustices of Obama's Justice Department, but if that wasn't bad enough, let's repeat history through the hiring of an army of 87,000 IRS agents, and they wonder why there's so much cause for concern. Andrew McCabe calling, that's right, calling for feds to treat mainstream conservatives the same as domestic terrorists. Parents being tagged as domestic terrorists by the FBI. The Biden administration, parents who oppose critical race theory, domestic terrorists. You're starting to hear the drumbeat that's been going on for some time now. But there is no equal standard of justice here. Tucker calling out the FBI for inaction over the firebombing at the pregnancy centers, the lack of reciprocal justice as it relates to the summer of Antifa and BLM riots, the recent raid of the pro-life leader at his home in front of his children. It's breaking people. It's breaking people to a degree. It should not the suicide of a January 6th defendant. They broke him. And how reminiscent is this of what we've now seen just occur in China? As Biden continues to call for Democrats to vote in the midterm elections, slams you if you are the opposing party as a semi-fascist. So what is their true desire? Is it the same desire as Xi Jinping to have formidable, now complete power? Who will say no to him, and who will say no to the Democrats, who are now claiming to defend democracy? It can be their way, and their way only. This is not what our Constitution was designed to protect against. You cannot have a uniparty rule. Although some would argue that the two parties are one and the same, we have a much larger problem to deal with. It is the preservation of our rights and freedoms that must always remain a fundamental concern. We're going to continue this story now, again at restrictedrepublic.com. To take advantage of it, we're going to allow you to watch it for free simply by entering discount code, the number 2, for free in monthly checkout. That's going to get you, I can't believe Lisa put out this offer, 2 months free plus a bonus 14 days. Get over there now and watch get the full picture, the full story of the events surrounding J6. Man, I'm telling you, you want to have your eyes open? You're going to learn a whole lot more. That's at restrictedrepublic.com. Most importantly, we love you all. Can't wait to see your comments. Help Lisa to share this video. Subscribe to her channel. Subscribe to mine. She'll put a link above because we have so much more information to bring you. Until next time, Godspeed and God bless. Justice Knight, signing out.